Hollie's Hotspurs, welcome back. Talking Tottenham every week, no better place to be sat. If it's a win, lose, draw, we'll be here for a chat. Best believe we tackle topics like Romero at the back. Young Min Son, what can go wrong when he's on form? It's a dream come true, so sit back, relax and vibe with us. Special guests every time here to discuss. Bring your passion, come along for the ride, and don't forget to subscribe, cause...
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hollie Hotspurs Live, where tonight the therapy session is back, ladies and gents, as we've got to dissect Spurs losing 2-1 at home to Ipswich. But we're in good company tonight to do so, because we're joined by two fabulous guests. First of all, Ross from across the pond. How are you, my friend? Apologies, there's obviously a loss we've got to talk about tonight.
That's all right, not a problem. Always good to be on. Glad to be here.
Oh, are we there?
Yeah, you're back.
Was it me who lagged out that time?
Kind of.
Are we back?
Yeah, you're back. Here you go.
Sorry, apologies, Ross. Go again, my friend.
Oh, that's all right. Yep, just hey, glad to be on. Always a pleasure. Wish it was under better circumstances, but you know, it is what it is.
It is what it is, correct. It's just annoying, but hey ho, we're going to dissect it in full tonight. Also joined by Jay. I'm going to class him as super sub at the moment because he is helping me out big time. But Jay, how are you?
I'm okay, not bad. This is a Ange Postecoglou style substitution, proper last minute. But I'm here just in time, and hopefully I'll make more of a difference than some of the substitutions we've been making.
Indeed, I'm sure you will, Jay. I think I've already got my money on that for you to do so. And welcome to everybody else that's tuning in as well. I know Chris is here already. Dr. Tottenham did do the rounds once again at the weekend. Before we get into it, obviously this show is sponsored by The Tabletop. You can go find out all the good stuff that they sell. Pokemon cards that me and Jay are currently into. Loads of board games. So go check them out in the description. Go see what you can kind of grab off of the site. But without further ado, we're going to kick things off. And obviously, like we've kind of already said, Dr. Tottenham done the rounds once again. And Ross, we like gifting teams that haven't had a win so far wins at the moment. So what did you kind of make of the game?
Oh yeah, you know, Dr. Tottenham, put the gloves on. What ails you? Yeah, that's been the issue here is we're just teams that we should beat and should be taking care of business against. We're not. We're kind of switching off. And I think sometimes it comes back to like the Villa game. You know, Sun goes off, we score 3 goals. And I think the guys start to think, oh, okay, you know, we got it pretty good now. We can go in, they get a couple of goals, we'll get goals back. And you can't be that way because it's not always going to work out for you. You have to be consistent. You have to be focused and you know, at the task in hand, and no matter who you're playing. You know, Ipswich Town, they earned the right to be in the Premier League. They're there because they earned their place, and you know they want to compete, and you know they're excited about being up again, and they didn't have a win, and you know you want to get that win, and they wanted it more is what it kind of boiled down to.
No, definitely. I think there was definitely a more fight within them, Jay, than there was with us. It's just bizarre. Like Ross has kind of said, we seem to be losing games that we should be winning comfortably on paper.
Yeah, and it's those games that will come back to haunt us at the end of the year. You know, currently we're 3 points behind everyone else. You know, the teams that we should be challenging with. But if you look at the teams that they've played and the teams that they've beaten, you know, obviously I know Arsenal have been on a little run, but these are definitely the games that are going to come back to bite us, and you can't be taking them lightly. Ipswich have shown that they've got quality, and a lot of managers have said playing Ipswich that the way they play and how they play, they deserve more points. You know, it's not like a case of, you know, Palace who hadn't been playing very well. You know, Ipswich play well in their games, they just can't seem to get results. So, you know, it was bound to be us at home, in front of fans who are on the edge at the minute, week on week. You know, 1 week it's all up there, and then next minute it's, you know, total panic station. So it was a real opportunity for Ipswich, and they took it.
And that's the thing. I think obviously before this game happened, Ross, I was kind of thinking, okay, Palace was away. It was a bit of a bogey kind of situation. The boys weren't up for it, but at home, I was thinking it's fine. We're going to brush these under the carpet. It's good to move. Were you kind of at that mentality as well? Were you like, this has got a bit of dodginess written all over it?
I actually felt good about it for the most part. I thought, okay, coming off of the Galatasaray match, all right, maybe we'll come out. We'll have our full, you know, most of our starting guys that are healthy out there, so we'll have a much stronger team. We should, but you know, kind of in the back of your mind back there, you have that little, you know, kind of itch back there, like, oh, I don't know, this could, and then it happened. you know? So that's it. It's yeah, it's you can't really predict it. It's that's what some of the frustration comes from.
I think so as well. And obviously, talking about the way we kind of conceded our goals, Jake. So obviously, Ipswich scored in the first 31 minutes, and before then, we actually had quite a few chances to kind of put ourselves in front. I remember Sonny having a chance, Johnson having a chance that he just missed as well. So it wasn't as if we weren't playing well at that point.
No, and it seems like it's a theme in games where the whole time it was 0-0. I wasn't expecting us to score, and I was expecting us to concede before half time, and then expecting us to come back and win at the end. So it's just seems to be the way things are. I feel like we definitely need to be more clinical, because I think teams are seeing it, and I think teams are realizing now that they can snatch a goal against us, and it could go their way very easily. The character in the team seems to be all over the place. We're brimming with confidence and ready to fight back against Villa, and then we play these games where I don't know if it's ego, but we're playing these teams that we should be beating, and the fight disappears. It's insane to me. And obviously we'll talk about City later, but it wouldn't shock me if we beat City at their gap. And it's like it just all of the betting companies and all of the people on Twitter have been doing the memes. It's like just an average week as a Spurs fan. You're Villa and doing all this, and then losing to Ipswich and Palace. It's just so unpredictable. But I think it purely comes down to clinicalness. Purely comes down to it.
Definitely a social experiment. I think I said that on Twitter. My stress levels, my brain just can't fathom how we managed to obviously lose this game. And also, coming to you, Ross, I know Jay's kind of touched on it in this mentality kind of thing, in the sense that obviously we turn up against the big guns, and it's like we can't be asked against the likes of Ipswich and Palace.
Yeah, that's it. And mentality's everything. It's it drives everything, and that's what the good teams do. The good teams play who's in front of them. They don't care who it is. If it's a high school team or whatever it is, you got to play against them, and things can happen in matches. And the system is built on it's scoring goals, and if we're not scoring goals, then when we go behind, then it's that's the way it's set up. If we go behind a goal or two, we can get that back twice as much. And so when the system's going well and we're scoring goals, it doesn't matter as much if we concede a goal or two. But when we're not, and then we concede those goals, then we can't make that difference up, and that's the problem.
I think it's the fashion that we're kind of conceding those goals, Jay, because the first one, how much space he had, and he had the audacity to do an overhead kick as well, just kind of sums up the amount of space he was allowed to have.
Was it last week or the week before I was on?
It was one of the weeks, yeah.
So Pedro Porro, once again, if you watch the goal back, and I made sure to watch it back before I came on just to make sure I wasn't seeing things. Brennan Johnson has a player to his left. Brennan Johnson is close to Sammy Smodic, so obviously could close him down. Pedro Porro is stood in space behind Sammy Smodic, doing absolutely nothing but being in the keeper's way. And then when he scores, throws his hands up and looks at Brennan Johnson. Now, if you actually watch the clip, there's a player outside of Brennan. So if Pedro Porro is going to moan, he's going to say, "Oh, look at the man over." But yeah, it's just the same frustration. Balling from the left, scored on the right. Balling from their right, scored on the left. Sorry, depending on which way you're looking at the pitch. It's just the same. It's just the same goal over and over again. And the second goal, I just he's one of my favourite players, which is what is so infuriating. But I just every single goal at the minute seems to have him in it at some point. It's just I wouldn't change his style of play for the world, but I just think defensively we need to sort something out because we're just getting found out, and I think teams are noticing now.
And you make a great point with Pedro Porro, because don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and jump on his back, but Ross, there's got to be some sort of onus on the way he's been playing, because I think against Ipswich he gave up possession 26 times. Like, that's not normal.
Yeah, and he tends to do that. I remember he'll go through stretches like that where he's turning the ball over, or he smashes a pass up blindly and gets toward another player and things like that. And yeah, I don't want to pile on him too much either. I mean, because he does great things too, and he is better going forward than he is defending. I mean, we knew that when he came here. That was his game is more being forward. But yeah, I mean, him and other guys too. And I just think defensively, they just need to really work out what we're doing, where guys are supposed to be, knowing where other guys are supposed to be, and knowing your assignments and stuff. And I think that's part of what it is guys just aren't sure. They don't know where they need to be or not sure. And that's where I think some of this is miscommunication. You have to communicate when you're out there. You have to talk it up.
No, definitely. And I think that's the thing as well, Jay. Obviously, part of it does come down to Ange, but I'm also think those players got to be accountable of their back line because, like you say, every week it's Pedro Porro doing the same thing, and the likes of Dragoshin as well. It just was a bit all over the gaff against Ipswich.
I go back to the beginning of the season when Ange was talking about the problems we had last year, and I do wonder whether it's a confidence thing with that back four, in the sense of Ange very clearly at the beginning of the season said, the reason we didn't do as well last year was because, we were missing our best back four for most of the season. How do you think players going in are going to feel when a goal goes in and, Dragosin's gone in and sent off against Karabag? He's now lost in this game. I think he didn't. I don't know if he played in the. Did he play in the? No, he didn't play in the Palace game. But this is exactly it. I think the confidence is the problem. Still think shot stopper wise, I love Vic, but I still don't know about him. I don't know about. He doesn't ooze confidence. I was out with some friends at the weekend, and all they could talk about was just if they were a Premier League team, they'd just stick it on the goalie from every single corner all the time, and yeah, it's just confidence, and the minute we lose one player, it just seems to crumble, And as fans, I think we think that as well. I know Dragosin was in there, but that could very well be Ben Davies playing left centre back, and then it's like, oh Jesus Christ, we have anyone that's got the maneuverability faster than a snail, we're in trouble this game, especially with how Romero likes to press into tackles, because that was the second goal. He pushed up, he's out of position, and then he's tracking back for the guy that squares it. Yeah, it's just, I think it's confidence. I think Ange maybe relies on playing the same puts too much on Van der Ven and Romero. I don't know about the leadership group. Just going back to what we said about character. So, yeah, I think I don't know if there's leaders in there, and if there are, I don't know who.
I think this is the thing, because obviously, if it was on the flip and we won this game, we wouldn't necessarily be talking about characters or mentality. But Ross, it keeps bowing its head to this mentality thing, and kind of what Jay said, in a sense that obviously there's some players in this team that sometimes I think their heads are elsewhere. I mean, take Romero, for instance. Don't get me wrong, he's a class player, but there's been so many times this season I feel like he's let us down from balls coming into the box. Same way that Pedro Porro has in the last couple of games. What are your kind of thoughts on, obviously, Romero and that kind of partnership with when Mickey Van der Ven isn't there?
Yeah, it's problematic because I mean we have Romero and Van der Ven and as our center backs, and they're great, and then just like last year, as they said, when Mickey went out, we struggled, and we just do. And yes, and Mickey offsets Romero so well. Romero, that allows Romero to be more aggressive and do what he's doing, lunging into the tackles. He can do that because Mickey's there and Mickey's got him covered. Whereas Radu, or Count Dragula, as I like to call him, I'm not going to get too bad on him. He's a good defender. I think he's had trouble adjusting to this system because he's more of your traditional center back. He's not so good with the ball at his feet, which unfortunately with this system, as a center back, you kind of really have to be. And I think he's still feeling his way. So, and then he's in sometimes some of the positions he's been put in a bad spot by a bad pass or something like that. He just has to try to make something out of it. But yes, I mean, yeah, he's made the errors too. But that's it. And that's something I think we really need to look at, is some depth at center back, especially in the January window, because as we can see, we really, really need it.
No, yeah, definitely. And I think we all kind of echo that as well, because obviously, touching on Dragosin, I know you mentioned slightly, Jay, the second goal. Again, it kind of like, don't know, he hasn't really put his body on the line. He's just kind of there. And I don't know if it came off his foot when it went in the goal, but it was just like no kind of tackle to try and get the player off the ball to shot into the back of the net.
I don't know. I think that's harsh. I would say, I think what Ross has said is kind of more appropriate for Dragusin. I think he's just someone that's struggling to adapt. And again, like Ross said, Romero pushing out for the tackle on the edge of the box would normally be covered by Van der Ven, who's just not there. And that chemistry and that playing with someone over and over again is, yeah. It echoes back to, and I know people have said it in the chat, and I've seen it all over Twitter as well. It does echo of when we had these players, and then Eric Dyer would get subbed on. It's got that existential dread of something's going to go wrong here. It might not necessarily be Dragusin's or Dyer's fault in that scenario, but it's just that dread as a fan base that, okay, we're losing our best centre back, in my opinion, and we're going to concede. But then, it also relies on the attacking players. And going back to what we said at the beginning of the podcast about being clinical, you're playing a team without a win and we're only scoring 1 goal at home. What's worse, conceding 2 on only scoring 1? So, yeah, I don't know. It's tough.
No, I think you make a valid point, Jay, and I think that's the thing. I know Darren's put in the chat about Sonny and Ross. I think we've kind of learnt with Sonny that he needs that kind of break to get that fire back in his belly as such, because he seems to be so knackered all the time. I think we kind of forget when he went off the Premier League finish, then he went straight to international break, and then he came back and he played again. And obviously when he got that injury, we saw the best out of him when he came back. I mean, again, we've kind of said that he had chances, didn't necessarily put them in the back of the net. Do you think that that's a worry? I know we talk about Son, the ceiling, is so high for Sonny, and when he's not hitting that ceiling, you kind of notice it more, don't you?
You do, and that is something about Sonny is he does tend to kind of have these hot and cold streaks. But I mean, other players do, and I never worry about Sonny, just like I never worried about Harry. As I always say, form's temporary, class is permanent. Sonny always comes good. Man, everybody's screaming, "Oh, drop him! He's past it. He's done." And then what happens? So that's it. But that's it. It's just we just got back into this thing where we just the chances aren't going in, and that's the thing with this system is we've got to finish those chances. That's what it's all based on, as I said before. And we've just got to get that going and find a way to get them going and put them away. And I mean, and there's always some games where you're just it's just not going to find the net. It's just not your day. But you got to try to find other things. And and then one thing I will say positive is we haven't been battered. I mean, I think we've lost all our matches by 1 goal. I mean, if we were getting 3 put past us, 4 put past us, or more consistently, there'd be a lot bigger problem and a lot bigger thing to worry about. I think it's just more about finally just consistency in everything and defending and putting those chances away. Once that comes with this system, we could be off and running.
And I think that's what Ange kept alluding to, obviously, in his press conference the other day, Jay, was the fact that obviously the consistency does come down to him, and he hasn't quite found that just yet. And with that kind of take, do you feel worried about that sense? Are you thinking, is Ange really the man? Do you think it's too soon? Do you think, again, if we didn't lose this game, it wouldn't even be a question?
I think it's exactly what Spurs fans have been asking for years. Is we wanted our Tottenham back, and we've got our Tottenham back. Just absolutely no consistency, absolutely crazy. I think I saw Alistair Gold say, do we want Tottenham back or do we want something new? And yeah, we have got our old Tottenham back, and this is why everyone's calling for Ange's head and everyone's saying, "Oh, this is." But frankly, as much as the results are frustrating, I'm enjoying watching Spurs. That by no means I'm happy with losing to Ipswich and Palace and losing 3 of our last 5 Premier League games. It's just, I don't know. It's what would you rather? And everyone wants the ultimate scenario, but I think as a fan base, we need to eat a bit of humble pie and remember our place in the Premier League. We've never come close. Well, we've never won a Premier League in my lifetime. We've never won a European trophy in my lifetime. We've never won an FA Cup in my lifetime. We've won 1 League Cup. So for me, it's something's got to change. But and I've said this many times on this podcast. You've only got to look at those lot down the road. They were in exactly the same position with a manager that they wanted to bin off. They were inconsistent. They couldn't see the longer goal, and they ate all of the horrific messages and everyone saying, "Oh, sack him, sack him, sack him, sack him." And they won trophies. They've not won the big one that they want yet, and they probably won't this year. I hope. Touch wood. Please don't clip it. But I think that's it. No one's got any patience in football anymore. Would I rather us be losing 2-1 to Ipswich and playing really well and looking really exciting, or losing 2-1 to Ipswich and watching us defend fearlessly and then concede 2 goals and then not do anything and sack? I'd probably pick the purse up.
No, I think you're right. I think we have short-term memory loss as fans, because I remember there was a lot more therapy sessions, Ross, last year and the year before on this show, when after watching Conte ball, Nuno ball, or Jose ball. So, Ross, for you, it is frustrating. Don't get me wrong. I think Jay's frustrated as well. I think we all are frustrated, but things could be a lot worse, I feel.
Absolutely, they could be. And and everybody's screaming, all the Ange out people are out here. It's like we can't be on this treadmill of having a manager for a season and a half and then firing him and going to another one. I mean, that's gotten us nowhere, and it would continue to get us nowhere. And the good point about that, that other team over there, they were screaming for Arteta to be out. Every video, Arteta out. He finished 8th twice in his first 2 years. Ange finished 5th in his first year. And look at the table. We're 10th, but we're 3 points off a third. As badly as we've played, as horrible as we've looked, we're still 3 points off a top 4.
And second best goal difference in the league as well.
Exactly. There are, positives to look at. but that doesn't mean that, I'm excusing any poor performance for that. No, poor performance is a poor performance. You can't, that's just right there. It's evident, for anybody. And and that's fine, but as I said, it's all but the way everybody would have you think on social media is that we're in the relegation zone right now, and it's just you got to keep things in perspective, and you have to stick with things and let things work. Poch talked about a painful rebuild. Here we are. This is it. This is the painful rebuild.
No, definitely, Ross. And I think that's the thing. And don't me get wrong, I can see people's kind of thoughts in the chat and saying they want a manager that can adapt this, that, and the other, but sadly, don't think he's had enough time to adapt so much. We always talk about the fact that he's necessarily come. I can see you shaking your head, Jay. So go on then.
Oh no, I'm saying I think he's had enough time in Premier League management. I just think, I don't know. I think that's to say he's not had enough time. I think is incorrect. But then I also think people saying he doesn't adapt is also incorrect. We played the aggressive system with 1 holding midfielder and 2 10s for 4 game weeks, I think. And then we got done at Palace, and then he changed the system, added more balance. Do we want to go back to a 5-back? This is what system, this is my thing. What system do people want us to play? This is the point. We play a 5-back for 3 years pretty much, and everyone hates it. Hates the football, thinks it's horrific, moans every single week, I'm not paying the money to go and watch this dross, blah, 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 blah. Now we're playing attacking football and everyone's moaning every single week. It's just like, okay, what system do you want to play? And I think Ange has made changes. I do think he's adapted. But I also think he might have adapted too soon. Like that loss to Palace, he instantly scrapped the 2 attacking midfielders. Why? I don't know.
No, it's a difficult one, and I think at the moment we were torn as a fan base before Ange came in. Now it seems there's so many different fragments I can't keep up anymore. But all I know is that at the moment Ange is the manager. We're only 3 points off a third. I think yes, okay, Ross. Like there could be a bigger gap, but I feel like we're quite lucky at the moment that even the big teams are struggling as well to an extent.
Yeah, it is true. We always make the joke every time the results line up and we can go ahead, we don't, which we do. But we're just fortunate that the it's kind of a lot of parity there in the middle outside of the top 2 or so. So we've definitely benefited from that, but that just then that just gives us some time to. But we got to stop doing these inconsistent things, and we have to fix that. That's great that we're only 3 points off a third, and going into the break, I really think everybody needs from the club just needs to kind of just take a look in the mirror and think about things. And I was hoping they did that the last break, but we'll go for this one, and just just really think about just being consistent, and playing who's in front of you, and that's what's going to happen there. Because if that doesn't change, then things are going to change, whether any of us want them to or not. So that's just what my hope is, that we can just get this, and we can just be glad that we didn't end up in a worse place than we were.
Indeed. And I think it's just the thing. I think it's the international break curse, Jay, because it seems to happen every bloody time.
Yeah, just kind of leave us depressed. And I don't know if any guy's going to have anything to do for the next 2 weeks, to be perfectly honest, if Spurs aren't playing games. The negativity, I don't understand. I understand, but I also, no one's offering any solution. No one's offering anything positive. No one's offering anything that is achievable or realistic in the real world. What we're going to do, I think someone said we're just going to change managers and become Project Infinity and just roll out a manager every other week. It's just ridiculous. And the international break, like you said, always comes at the worst time, because it gives these people time to chew on these things, come up with theories. I've already seen, and I nearly lost my head at the weekend. I've already seen a Pochettino compilation on my timeline somewhere. And all right, cool. Everyone wants that. But how many trophies did we win there? Absolutely nothing. So, everyone's wanting this amazing love story. Everyone's wanting this amazing manager. But when are they going to come? And if people are saying, oh, it's the same cycle. Yeah, because it's the same fans. And my biggest frustration is a lot of Spurs fans. It's the same fans who, a year and a half into a project, want the manager gone. Then they get a new manager in that they watched a compilation on Twitter and suddenly know everything about football. And then a year later, they're doing exactly the same thing. It's just ridiculous. We're not going to get anywhere. And we've just got to get behind the team. And when results like this happen, we just got to do more. And the players have got to do more. And the players will sense it from the fans. I think I saw someone shout at Ange as he was leaving the ground at Ipswich. That's going to seep into the dressing room. And then, I don't know. It just frustrates me. Just really frustrates me, because this is all it's going to be now, international break. It's going to be Ange out. We're 3 points off Chelsea. No one's saying Chelsea are crap. No one's saying Arsenal are crap. Everyone's saying Forest are the best team in the Premier League for God knows how long. We're 3 points behind them, and we have a better goal difference than all of them. Crazy. Absolutely.
It does make
crazy.
me laugh. But Jay, I'm very glad that you've lasted. How many times you've been on the show this season, and this is the first time you've mentioned
It's because it's the first time I've seen a compilation on Twitter, and I nearly lost my head.
But I'm gonna make it a bit more positive, because like on this show, I called it a therapy session, but it hasn't been that bad to feel this depressed. So Ross, I'm going to talk about Bentancur, because although yes, we lost the game, I feel like Bentancur's slowly getting back to his old self. What did you kind of make of him?
That was great. First Poch is ours now, so you can't have him. At least not for a few more years. But anyway, Bentancur, yeah, I mean, just consistency, man. The guy came in, and I think he's the one guy of a lot of them that can hold his head up high today, because he came out there and he just works. He's just getting back to just gliding around. Somebody said he just kind of glides around like a shark, all through the midfield, and I agree. And then he got that goal, that header on the corner, which is, hey, we scored from a set piece. There's one little positive we can take away. But yeah, no, he's great. He is getting back, and we're gonna need him. I mean, as we saw, I mean, he came in and changed it. I mean, and that's why he scored that goal, and we had a few more chances too. Solanke was able to get that over the keeper, would have taken a point out. So yeah, it's good to have him back, and glad to see him getting back to being the Benny that we know and love.
No, definitely. And I think, like I said, it's been a long time coming, obviously, since his injury. But Jay, how do you kind of like that dynamic when Bentancur kind of plays in the middle?
I definitely think Bentancur is one of our better players. I'll be intrigued to see, obviously, with the FA delay on the decision and suspension, what's going to happen. And him being such a key player, it will be a problem for us. Going back to, what I was saying. I just think I think we are that midfield. I would probably be favouring playing Basuma just for some consistency in there. That Basuma Sarr, we know that's going to play. We know that's not going to be affected by the suspension. It's all good Bentancur playing, but I think we're going to have a run of games where we'll be suspended. And yeah, we're going to be in trouble. You know, Martin said Poch wasn't sacked. Maybe he'd prefer £35 million Moussa Sissoko that he purchased, or £62 million in Dombele in midfield. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's difficult. Yeah. I don't know. I'm fully head lost at the minute.
I can tell. We're going to move on. The word Poch has been mentioned and Jay said son. But we're going to bring it back because obviously it was a great header for Bentancur. And Ross, like you kind of alluded to just a minute ago, the fact that obviously it could have been 2-2, but obviously it was ruled for handball. But again, Solanke is finding his form. And we've mentioned it on the show a couple of times that obviously as Spurs fans, we can see what Solanke kind of adds to the team, his pressing, doing a lot more than just trying to score goals. But now he's finally adding those goals. So what have you made of Solanke so far this season?
I love him. The Dominator. That's my name for him. He's great. I mean, he never stops running. We have, I don't know if you guys have, there's a battery called Energizer, and there was an Energizer bunny commercial with a bunny one of those battery powered bunnies, and there was the Energizer bunny. He keeps going and going, and that's Solanke. I mean, he's just everywhere. And yeah, and the goals are coming now. And that was just, I mean, that I kind of looked at that and I was like, is that really maybe handball? But it's one of those ones that's probably going to go that way. But yeah, he is. He's finding those goals, and he's so great at getting into position. I mean, it's so nice to have as I said, a poaching 9 again. I mean, we've been missing that, since Harry left, and he gives us that. And but it's not just that. He also just does so much work off the ball and pressing, and he really enables our guys to get forward and holding that ball up. And just the position he gets in, like before something even happens, he's gone. He's in that box. Like when that one with the through ball and Villa, that was just he just knows exactly where to be, and and so many times you've seen a cross go to the back post, no one's there, and he's there now.
No, definitely. And I think that's the thing. I think sometimes, Jay, my biggest pet peeve sometimes is that we don't necessarily cross the ball enough to get on his head, do we, really?
No, I think I've transferred him into my FPL this week. I took out Havertz. Yes, I have an Arsenal player in my FPL. There's a big forfeit if I come last, so I can't come last, so it's need must. But I was confident, putting Solanke in, obviously against his performance against Villa, against a good team, a big team, a team that everyone again says they're one of the best teams in the Premier League. And he actually did the business against them. So yeah, I think we're just not. He is getting opportunities though. That is the only thing, and I think that'll be the thing that's playing on his mind. And it's definitely playing on our mind. Is he is getting those opportunities. He is getting into the right place, but it just seems like it's not working out. I was hoping the Ipswich game was going to start a run of goals in the Premier League. That's why I transferred him in. It let me down. But yeah, I think he is a Premier League player. He showed that he could do it at Bournemouth. It could be another price tag thing. I also think I'd like to see a rotation between him and Richarlison, just for some motivation. Just or someone or just a change in system for one game or something, just to try something out, and then maybe make him hungry. I don't know. I think he's in the right place at the right time. Sometimes I think it's just, again, the clinicalness is the problem.
No, I think you make a valid point there. I think it will come. We've seen it obviously again against the bigger teams, not so much the other teams that we should be beating on paper. But again, like we've kind of alluded to tonight, I think that's just got to Tottenham at the moment, just winding us all up. We can't seem to get it over the line. But luckily for us, obviously, we have a little bit of a break, which is quite good, Ross, because obviously towards the end of that game against Ipswich, it looked like Sarr was injured in that game. So hopefully he'll have a bit of time to rest because, again, he has been a machine so far this season.
Oh, he definitely has. And yeah, another injury. We're going to have the wing of the hospital here pretty soon. I mean, goodness. But oh yeah, Sarr has been fantastic. I mean, this year he's really taken a step up. Really played well in Europe for us. Had a couple of that one goal that was, the bend it like Beckham, I called it. That one is what he did. It was nice. Yeah, he's really come on and done well. One of those crops. One of those crop of that Don Fabio got for us. He's still lurking in the shadows there, and yeah, so it's great to see that and to see him come along and as I say, and like everybody else, that's we're going to need him. We're going to really need him.
No, definitely. And I think that's the thing, because obviously, Jay, as well, where we saw obviously Maddison come on quite late again against Ipswich, and obviously saw obviously them having to come off because he's injured. What have you kind of made of Madders? Because it seems as of late that Ange isn't really favouring him within that system. Do you think that's kind of what you said with potentially Solanke in terms of want to build a bit of motivation here and there?
I don't know about the leadership trio. I don't like that dynamic. I think there should always be one captain in the team. I think maybe one of those three is the right player. I think Maddison now is being hampered by the fact that he's part of that leadership team and he's not playing. I would like to think that would motivate him. But I would also, Ange is stubborn. We know this. And Decky has been playing really well. And Decky plays really well for the middle, said he wants to play really well for the middle. And Decky's given us no reason whatsoever to drop him. So unless we, operate with those two attacking midfielders, sadly for Madders, I think it's going to be curtains until Decky drops a stinker. But the only thing I would say, maybe Brennan Johnson, it's gone back to being a little bit inconsistent. So, Maddison has played on the right for Leicester before. Maybe that's something that we could explore, maybe, especially we're talking about crossing balls into the box for Solanke. We've seen Son and even, dare I say it, Werner put some good balls in from the wings. Yeah, I think that's maybe an option. But again, that goes back to the stubbornness of the system and yeah, I don't know. We're lacking end product when we get in those areas, which is why enjoy your echo chamber. I've just seen. You can find 50 other channels chanting Ange out, mate. So you go back to yours. Yeah, I don't know. It's difficult. I think Maddison is, for me, a player that needs a run of form. But again, with Decky playing the way he is, and if we're going to stick with this one attacking midfielder, then yeah, it's going to happen.
No, I think right, because Decky has been another level again, Ross, and it's mad how changing a player where they actually want to play actually prove that he can do it.
Oh yeah, Kulusevski, what a player! I mean, for sure. He even saw it. That was the first match that he started against them and scored against them. He saw, Pep saw it right away. Yeah, he's just so much better in the middle because, as I've said for a while, he can do so many things. He's what we thought Tanguy would be. Is what is definitely what Decky is. And he's like 6'4". He's a big dude, That's like a he could be like a tight end in American football, I mean, he's a big guy, and that help. He's got the physicality, but he also is quick and just so skilled with the ball, and he can just really showcase that all in the midfield. Whereas he got predictable on the wing. He would go down, cut inside, go down, cut inside, and it was just real easy to he just needs to have that freedom where he can do so many things, and you can just tell he really thrives on it.
No, definitely. And it's amazing for us because it has done wonders in that kind of middle. And again, it shows how much we need him to play through that middle. Which kind of leaves a nice little segue, Ross, to obviously playing City after the international break. So, Jay, I'll come to you. We head to the empty had, like Ross alluded to before we came on stream. So how do you kind of see this one going down?
I think the international break is probably the worst thing that could happen, just because obviously I know City are going through a bad run of form as well, but yeah, that's a game, and I've seen my mate Martin say it earlier, that if we lose against City, Ange needs to go. I think that's going to be the fan base's reaction if we don't beat the champions of the Premier League at home, that the manager needs to be sacked. But yeah, exactly. And Darren said it. We are the reverse for City. But normally City are playing really well when we beat them, but City are playing really badly. So yeah, we will probably be Dr. Tottenham for them as well. Yeah, I don't know. I think we need to limit expectations. We have gone to their gaff and beaten them before. And yeah, I would love to see another Decky goal and the limbs that came with that. But I think it's a real game to put a marker down. I think if we want to show that we can compete, I think that's a game. But then knowing us, we could beat City and then lose to God knows who the week later. So Yeah, I think it's a must win. Not so much for our Premier League season, because everyone's dropping points left, right, and centre in the minute. So even a loss against City doesn't rule us out of anything. And everyone's beating everyone. And this Premier League, I think, is probably the most competitive Premier League season I can remember. It's very hard to predict, but yeah, I think just for the fan base and for the club, I think we need to beat City, because otherwise, I think it's going to get very, very messy.
Very, very ugly, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Obviously, because looking at we were the ones that kind of put them on their losing streak, obviously beating them in the cup. They lost to Bournemouth 2-1, lost to Sporting 4-1, and lost to Brighton 2-1. So, Ross, in that kind of sense, it probably is the kind of best time to play them. But like Jay said, we normally play them when they are on a high.
Oh, that's it. I mean, we're consistent at being inconsistent, if nothing else, So it's like, it's hard to call because, can we beat City? Of course we can. We definitely can. I mean, will we? That's the question. What team's going to show up? And after the break, you hope after the break we're rested, we get guys back, and we get after it and realize, hey, this is where we can get this win, and we can make a little bit of a little small statement here, saying, hey, look, we went to the champs' ground and we beat them. And then maybe we can build off of that, because yes, as Jay said, it's right. If we lose that, not team wise, but just PR wise and all that, it's really going to be a mess.
No, it really is. And I obviously just want to go back to the fact that, Jay, it feels like the whole world is ending at the minute being a Spurs fan, but I really don't think it is. And I think that's the thing that I always try and put across on this show, is the fact that everyone's entitled to their opinion, but just have a bit of realism within you, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that is something that, and obviously I'm a little bit biased, but I think that's something on here, that this is about talking about Tottenham. This is about talking about wanting the best for Tottenham. And I think there's a lot of channels where people like Martin, who would find themselves a lot more at home, or you could say away. But that's the thing. I think it's the pile-on, it's the negativity. You're positive. No one's, I sat and slagged off Pedro Porro for 10 minutes. No one's acting like there's not a problem here. Everyone's just trying to push towards a better solution, rather than just bailing because things aren't going the way we want them to. Because we've done that 1,000,001 times, and I think it's really important to try and find a positive out of a situation and move forward as a team, because we are part of this team. We all give up our weekends. We all sit here and stress and watch it. And if you don't work at things, you're not going to go anywhere. And if you don't change anything, people moan about Ange being stubborn, but we're probably the most stubborn fan base on planet Earth. If we don't have success in a year and a half, you're gone. We ain't got the time. We're big Super Tottenham. We've won absolutely nothing. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
No, and I think that's the thing. And don't get me wrong, Ross, like Jay alluded to, I've only seen one cup in my lifetime as being a Spurs fan. And don't get me wrong, patience are wearing thin. But Ross, I think it's just the wrong time to just chuck it all out the window once again.
Yeah, exactly. And it's gotten us nowhere. And and being positive, doesn't mean you think that everything is, sunshine and rainbows. No, like I said, I pointed out it was a bad game. It was a bad showing. But you can still find positives in things, and that doesn't mean that you're just excusing everything and you just think everything's great and there aren't problems. No, there are. But you have to look at some, a little bit of some of the negativity things too, the positive things too. It's just the way it goes. You have to kind of strike a balance with it.
No, definitely. And I think that's what we try and do on the show on here. And it is nice to kind of go over it again. But my word, it's a lot better than what it was a few years ago, because I swear I was having a therapy session nearly every other week. But it's good to talk it over, and it's good that we've been on here tonight to do that too. So we're going to go around the table and say our thank yous and goodbyes, because I have thoroughly enjoyed today, despite obviously the results. So Jay, I'm going to come to you first. Thank you again for joining me tonight. Where can everybody find you doing your thing?
You can find me twitch.tv/JJ Season, doing kind of all sort of stuff, playing Pokemon a lot recently, and supporting Spurs and living in Martin's echo chamber.
That's proper triggered you. Anyway, moving on. Ross, it's amazing to have had you on tonight, especially from across the pond as well. It's nice to have a nice American accent on as well for one time on the show. So where can everybody find you doing your thing as well?
Great. Yeah, you can find me at Twitter at Spursy Night, as you can see right there. I also went over to Blue Sky. That's kind of where a lot of people are going, but I'm going to be on both. But either one of those places is where I'll be at.
Amazing stuff. No, thank you, Ross, and thank you, Jay. Thank you to everybody else that's watched, that's going to rewatch this show. Like I say, Hollie's Hotspurs will be back after international break. We're going to have a little break because I think I need one. But I'll be live on Wednesday with Wes and Nelson, because I'm sure Nelson's going to want to rub it in that we lost at the weekend. So that should be a fun one. But like we always say, I mean, look, Darren says it right there. Thank you, Darren, for always tuning in every week. I was going to give you a little shout out there, so thank you, Darren. But like we always say, like we always do, till next time, come on, you Spurs.